walked away for a year or two. I'm back. So, who knows? Hopefully they do learn their lessons.
We'll see.
Gruber, good to talk to you. We got to get Charlie Kirk's Medal of Honor, Medal of Freedom ceremony coming.
There you go.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks, quickly, the markets all over the board. Really volatile session today. It was way down, 400 in the Dow, end up 200 higher in the Dow, S&P down 10, down 11, Nasdaq down 163. At one point was down 400, 500, up across the board. But a couple other good news. Gold, good news for gold, up $23 an ounce, 41.55 as we speak. You look at oil, here's some really, really good news here. Oil pushing a lot lower, $58.50 a barrel. You're getting some really, really good pricing going forward for oil. And then crypto still can't get out of its own way. Don't know what's going on with crypto. I heard some big sell. I heard some people committed suicide over the last couple of days from the big move from the all-time high, 126,000 down to 105,000 the other night, Sunday night, late night. So keep your eye on that stuff. All right, folks, buy gold, and guess what? Get free silver. Free silver. That's right, for every $5,000 purchase from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they'll send you a free patriotic silver round. I'm holding one right in my hand here that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of just this year alone, and Birch Gold Group can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you're current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, many of which are our listeners right here at RAV. I encourage you to diversify your savings in the gold. Text the word America to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases before the end of the month. Again, that word is America. Just text it to the number 989898. Do it today. All right, our first guest is the literally amazing Congresswoman from the great state of Florida. Always happy to have Representative Paulina Luna back on the show. Welcome back, Congresswoman. So we're 14 days into the Schumer shutdown. You and I were talking offline just a second ago. What are some of the things that they're demanding before you guys reopen government?
I almost laughed when I saw this list because I thought it was fake. So I just want to read some of these to you, Eric. We have $24.6 million to climate resilience in Honduras, $13.4 million to civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million. Oh, this is a peach right here. LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Balkans. $2.9 million to desert locust reduction in Africa. Oh yeah, and $2 million to organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa. They are literally not wanting to pay the military. They're willing to defund the women, infant, and children program. Thank goodness Trump had his pot of money from the reciprocal tariffs, but they want to fund this stuff, which is totally backwards and just asinine. So here we are through the shutdown. I've never bet against Trump in a negotiation, and I think he's going to win this because Rust vote is basically going to go after their pet projects for reelections in some of these blue districts. But my goodness, talk about hypocrisy.
Yeah, they are rife with hypocrisy. Schumer, what is it going to take? And some are speculating that he wants to wait until after this second or the third, whatever this is, No Kings protest rioting, whatever they're on October 18th. Your thoughts? Is Schumer just trying to remain relevant?
I think that there is legitimate concerns. The Democrats are kind of in shambles right now. They were trying to make this shutdown saying that it's because, Republicans don't want to vote for the Jeffrey Epstein files, which to be clear is completely false, right? Like we know that they don't want to fund the clean CR and that Schumer's facing potentially a Senate primary. But ultimately, it's not even about anything that the Democrats are really trying to message on. And I think that a lot of their voters, according to what we're seeing with the polling, a lot of their Democrat voters don't actually support this. So I think that this is a common occurrence where you see, elected officials that are supposed to represent constituents in Washington, D.C., and then they fail to ever go home. In fact, a lot of the Democrats have been up here filming TikTok videos during the shutdown, trying to show that they're working, but they're not. and they lose touch with reality and what their voters want. So I am glad that the administration is currently in power, because I think that Russ is going to have a great opportunity here, Russ vote, to actually get rid of some of this bloated government and really rein in the spending, because Congress does have a spending problem. But ultimately, you know, when people talk about why they hate Congress and why we have such low favorability ratings, it's because of stuff like this.
You know, I think I've been through 100 of these. First attempted shutdowns, threatened shutdowns, now shutdowns. And it's always both sides trying to blame the other side. But Trump has literally said, you know, we're not going to pay for illegals' health care. We're just not going to do. We're not going to do that, and they won't. Back
or
off
this
that.
stuff.
Or
this
that,
stuff, right?
And Paulina Luna, we do this all the time with these nonsense, you know, lobsters on the treadmill, all that garbage, bloated. A government like ours has been so bloated for so long, all that stuff will continue to pop up. But to really get the government back open and pay folks that your military, et cetera, and whatever, there's got to be some sort of give. The Democrats they cannot continue to blame Trump. I mean, you own the White House, they have the House, the Senate. You can turn the narrative at him. It's amazing how ugly the political machine is from this standpoint. You guys are in the midst of it. Can I just talk very quickly? Mideast peace, does it hold?
I'm hopeful. I think that a lot of it depends on who Trump names as his successor and the team that stays within the White House after Trump's time in office. So remember, President Trump, thank goodness we have him for 3 more years. But really what ends up happening is really by, I think, the third year, really the second year and then the third year of an administration, people start leaving and they start really shifting into re-election mode and or campaign efforts for the White House.
And so... Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, you can finish.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you end up seeing a lot of the staff leave, and I think that there needs to be those people, I think that they need to stay, because ultimately, this is a unique opportunity that we have in history to ensure that not just the United States, instead of being an aggressor, is seen as the peacemaker. And I think President Trump has made his mandate of what he expects, especially from the party, to back him on. And so I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because, specifically on him wanting peace with Russia and Ukraine, well, that's not going to happen if you keep having members of Congress going over to Ukraine and advocating for war with NATO, right? Mm-hmm. And so I do sit on foreign affairs as part of my other hat. As you know, Eric, I'm on oversight, so I'm also on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I actually reached out, and I have a meeting next week, actually, with the special envoy to the president of Russia to discuss some of those peace and potentially trade talks. And then also, for the first time since the 90s, Congress will be doing a parliament meeting, or Congress to the Duma meeting, where we will be actually meeting. It's going to be bipartisan with a group of members from the Russian delegation of their version of parliament. And so, that should have happened. We know that there's been fractured foreign policy because of Russiagate, and we know now that that was a manufactured lie. So the specific Democrats used it for political gain. In actuality, there was no Cold War happening. So
very quick answer. Quick answer. I watched the whole pomp and ceremony yesterday, right? In Israel, then in Egypt.
Yeah.
Trump was very, very supportive, elevated Marco Rubio to a level I haven't really seen him elevated prior to this. Now, you're a very MAGA person. We come from way long time ago MAGA roots. Yeah. Back when Marco Rubio wasn't so MAGA, right? And so I'm going, is this some sort of Trump looking at maybe possibly Marco Rubio to carry the torch further, and maybe not J.D. Vance? What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't like to speculate on what President Trump thinks. But what I can tell you is, I think, especially when you are in D.C., remember, Marco came from the Tea Party era. And I think that what Marco has been really good at is he's been able to understand how Washington works. And at the same time, ensuring that he was able to get into a position where he could fully be what I believe is the conservative that he's always felt that he is. And if you look at him as compared to some of the other Secretary of States that we've had, he is doing an incredible job. I think such a good job that President Trump is correct that he's going to go down as truly one of the greatest Secretary of States that we've ever had in U.S. history. And you can look at his peace negotiations and what he's been able to provide and support. On the flip side, J.D. Vance has been backing the president through all of that as well. And both J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio were actually very supportive of President Trump's position on Iran. There was a lot of people freaking out about it. Obviously, both of those individuals do not want more war, and you can tell by their actions and how they've backed the president in these peace negotiations. And so I can tell you that there's a lot of people in Congress and Senate that like to, talk and say that they know what's going on. But the fact is that especially on this foreign policy and a lot of these decisions, the only people that know are the ones in the Situation Room, and this would be JD Vance and Marco Rubio. So I applaud their efforts.
Interesting dynamics setting up there, I will tell you. And I got about a minute or so, Anna Paulina Luna, and we go way back. And what I'm referencing is, Charlie Kirk received the Medal of Freedom, the highest honor you can give a civilian, by President Trump. And you, my dear, we met in 2018 when you were the head of the Hispanic outreach for TPUSA. So your roots are long with TPUSA as well. Quick thought on Charlie receiving the Medal of Freedom.
It's a huge honor. And what I can tell you is that I really wish it was under different circumstances, because as you know, Charlie's birthday is on the day that he's receiving the honor. But, for me specifically, I think that, as his friend, not just as an elected official, but seeing his life accomplishments, even in those 30 plus years, he was able to accomplish more than sometimes people do in their entire life. And so I will never forget where I came from. I always remember my roots, and I'm in Congress because of Charlie, and we're going to continue his legacy. Yeah,
and you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing, Anna Paulina Luna. As a citizen of the freest state in the Union, Florida, really good having you here as well. Anna Paulina Luna, everybody. And by the way, I am Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Look at this. This is the edge. This is amazing. Just 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks since we launched. That chart right there, we're in the orange, the burnt orange. That's where we are versus every single new YouTube show. 5 times in views, 5 times the number of subscribers because of you. Most pages just crawl. Ours didn't crawl. We came out swinging. 20,000 views already, less than 4 weeks. That's 5 times the typical growth of a startup channel. Over almost 1,600 subscribers right now because of you. You guys are doing this. Put up that other screen very quickly. Take your phone, put your camera on, face your camera at that little QR code, a little yellow line comes across. Just hit it. You subscribe automatically. There's no money involved. I will never hit you up for anything. Just want you involved in the content. I want you to be part of the beginning of something massive. The Edge is going to be massive. Or you can hit me up at youtube.com/@EricBowlingTheEdge at the bottom right there. That's the other way to do it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your subscription. We'll be right back.